Syrian opposition groups have held unprecedented talks to find a solution to the nearly 5-year civil war. For the first time, most of the main armed rebel groups have met in Saudi Arabia to discuss the possibility of negotiations with the Syrian regime. If all goes to plan, negotiations with Bashar al-Assad's government would begin next month. But the opposition groups are still demanding President Assad step down, something he's refused to do. Anne Barker reports.
Given how many opposition and rebel groups are fighting in Syria, these latest talks are a major achievement just getting them to the table. More than 100 representatives of the different armed and political groups met in the Saudi capital Riyadh and agreed to form a united anti-government coalition. The Saudi Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir spoke after the two-day meeting ended. The aim of the Riyadh Convention, he said, is to unify all factions in the opposition to present a clear position to the whole world, saying that these are the principles they want and thus will have a stronger position. Representatives of the different opposition groups have signed a statement agreeing to negotiate with the Syrian regime on a transition to a new government. They've called for an all-inclusive democratic regime that represents every sector of Syrian society, including women, that would not discriminate on religious, sectarian or ethnic grounds. But they've stressed that President Bashar al-Assad must leave power at the start of the transitional period and can play no part in a future government. Bashar al-Assad has two solutions, says the Saudi Foreign Minister: leave through negotiations, which is easier and better for everyone, or he'll have to leave through fighting because the Syrian people refuse that this regime and person stays in power. The US State Department has welcomed the move as a positive step. Spokesman John Kirby.
We appreciate that this extremely diverse group of Syrians put aside differences in the interest of building a new Syria.
But John Kirby stressed the agreement in Riyadh is only a first step. The US and other world leaders want the negotiations between a unified opposition delegation and the Syrian regime to begin in New York on January the 1st.
This was an important milestone in getting to a place where in early January they can actually begin to have political negotiations with the regime. There is still more work to do between now and sometime in early January, when we hope these political negotiations can continue.
And quite apart from the challenge in getting the Syrian government to the table, there's no certainty the opposition groups will produce a united delegation. Before the agreement was signed, there were reports one key rebel faction had refused to sign because figures close to the government were given too big a role in the talks. And of course, one group not involved in the talks is Islamic State, which has already seized control of a large swathe of the country. And as the US acknowledges, IS is increasingly like a conventional army.
The reason they're operating more like a conventional army is because they have more conventional goals, right? I mean, their stated goal is to create a state, to create a caliphate.
US Army Colonel Steve Warren has revealed US forces recently killed 3 senior leaders in ISIS, including their so-called finance minister and another man responsible for coordinating the group's extortion activities.
Their removal will degrade ISIL's ability to command and control troops, and it disrupts their ability to finance their efforts.
A US Treasury official estimates ISIS has reaped more than $500 million in black market oil sales, extortion and by looting bank vaults in Syria and Iraq.
Anne Barker, and this is The World Today.